Interim Joint Committee on Tourism, Small Business, Information and Technology. Sasha, will you call the roll?
Senator Boswell, Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Gardler, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Howell, Senator Mills, Senator Storm, Senator Thomas, Senator Wheeler, Senator Wilson, Representative All, Representative Baker, Representative Dotson, Representative Pfister,
Here.
Representative Frazier Gordon,
Yes.
Representative Freeland,
Present.
Representative Fugit,
Here.
Representative Heath,
Here.
Representative Kulkarni,
Present.
Representative Lawrence, Representative Maddox,
Here.
Representative Massaroni,
Here.
Representative McPherson, Representative Pollock,
Here.
Representative Roberts,
Here.
Representative Stalker,
Present.
Representative Tackett Lafferty, Representative Tate, Representative Timoney,
Here.
Representative Truitt,
Here.
Representative Wesley, Representative White, Representative Wilson, Representative Witten,
Here.
Co-Chair Wise, Co-Chair King,
Present.
Co-Chair Pratt.
Present. All just came in. All right, we have a quorum. Before we get started, I need a motion to approve the minutes of previous meeting. Second. Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. It's approved. All right. Gentlemen, before you get going, please make sure your little green button is lit up on the mic in front of you. Introduce yourself for the record, and please proceed.
Good afternoon, Representative Pratt. Brian Gupton, Dataseam.
Damian Johnson, Superintendent of Jenkins Independent School.
Philip Watts, Superintendent of Breathitt County Schools.
Thomas Burns, Lawrence County Schools.
Please proceed, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, chairs and members of the committee. Thank you for having us today. Along with the superintendents that introduced themselves, we'd like to bring you up to date on something that you funded, bringing unique information technology workforce development opportunities for Kentuckians. To briefly recap, I think many of you all are familiar with Dataseam and the partnership. Many of you all have school districts represented in the program, and we've got several of those school districts and their students here with us today. In 2003, we brought the Dataseam concept to the University of Louisville Innovation Incubator, wanting to prove out the ability using everyday computers lending horsepower to Kentucky-based research and commercialization efforts. Beginning with existing school computers in my Caldwell County hometown of Princeton, running cancer research for the University of Louisville's Brown Cancer Center, the concept was expanded in 2005 with the KEDFA grant into our coal-producing regions of eastern and western Kentucky, and then again in 2006 with an appropriation by the General Assembly to do more of the same, with a determination by the 2018 General Assembly to move our efforts to the general fund. Dataseam's been able to provide partnership opportunity to any Kentucky public K-12 school. As part of the local workforce investments we're going to talk about today, schools have not only improved their technology teams and educators, but they have earned millions of dollars of instructional computers they could not afford otherwise, supporting advanced curriculum in the classroom and linked statewide, district by district, as part of the Dataseam Grid research infrastructure for innovation and advancement of cancer drug discovery at the University of Louisville's Brown Cancer Center and through their partnerships with the University of Kentucky. We have used this engagement to develop next generation workforce opportunity, recruiting students from participating districts, most of them first generation college goers, to support STEM and STEM education disciplines at both U of L and Morehead State University, most notably its Space Systems Engineering program. Starting with that one western Kentucky county, we have grown to 55 districts today, representing just under 40% of Kentucky's public K-12 population. And then actually, we've received notice today that 3 more districts have joined the program: Harrison County, East Bernstadt, and Dawson Springs City Schools. So I think Representative Lawrence, Senator Storm, Representative Baker, Representative Truitt, and Representative Wilson, thank you. We're looking forward to having your folks as part of the program too. In 2018, we were approached by the Kentucky Labor Cabinet, and they introduced us to the Department of Labor registered apprenticeship concept. Given 10 years of successful efforts training and upskilling education technology professionals and educators statewide, they felt that we had the ability to get younger Kentuckians into the technology workforce, beginning in high school with training, skills mastery, and meaningful employment. At the time, we asked, and you may be kind of asking the same thing, why would we use schools as employers to model technology skills in the workplace? Well, our public education institutions are pretty much the largest employer, as you know, in each of the counties in your legislative district. By default, they are also the largest consumer of technology. Users with a variety of skills from preschool to administration, diverse technology platforms and equipment, our schools support all of it. Generally, everything that you will find in a school and support in a school, from the users, hardware and software, climate controls, access systems, servers and networks, every single bank, hospital, and courthouse support the same things. With that in mind, we worked with the cabinet, and at that time that was Secretary Ramsey and Secretary Nemes, and the registered apprenticeship team to develop a curriculum in conjunction with our Dataseam districts that was extremely employer-facing and responsive to the technology needs of not only education as an employment sector, but directly portable to those foundational cornerstones of every one of our Kentucky communities: finance, healthcare, state and local government. This skilled trades program involves coursework, on-job training, and mentoring as part of what is many students' first job. Most importantly, their DOL Journey Worker certification is being earned with 2 years' worth of practical work experience, which many of you all, being employers yourselves, can be as the differentiating factor for a candidate seeking employment. This next slide is just a general timeline for the registered apprenticeship. We started as a 2-county pilot in Hancock and Whitley counties, self-funded, and we took what we learned and pursued a competitive grant with the Appalachian Regional Commission, $1.5 million, competing against 166 other grants from 13 states, with this being the first apprenticeship that they had done. The registered apprenticeship model that we built was validated further at the Department of Labor with competitive grants directed at Appalachian Workforce Development. The 2024 or the 2022-24 appropriation you've provided us in 23 scaled registered apprenticeship outside of Appalachian, Kentucky. Today, we have 31 of those 55 school districts that I mentioned earlier that are a part of registered apprenticeship, and we're getting ready to start our 5th cohort, and we're excited for that to happen. We've got 22 students statewide coming into that. To share a little bit more about how all of this has come together, I've brought some of our partners and friends from participating schools to talk about how registered apprenticeship fits into their overall ecosystems. Beginning with Superintendent Damian Johnson, Jenkins Independent, we'd like to share what that looks on the ground and what it provides every day.
Good afternoon, esteemed members of the Kentucky General Assembly. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Damian Johnson, and I'm the superintendent of Jenkins Independent Schools in Letcher County. Before I became superintendent, I served as the director of technology at Jenkins Independent for 16 years, and I'm also a graduate of Jenkins, class of 1993 valedictorian. Today I'm here to share with you the impact of the Registered Technology Apprenticeship Program brought to us in partnership with Kentucky Dataseam Initiative that has significantly shaped our district and the lives of our students. This program, which allows us to employ high school seniors and juniors as part of our technology staff, it's been a game changer for Jenkins Independent. We may be a small school district, but we are one of the largest employers in Letcher County. And as such, we face some of the same IT demands as any small business, supporting a variety of devices, users, and platforms. Our partnership with Dataseam has been instrumental in meeting these demands. Since 2006, Dataseam has been our longest standing and most impactful partner, providing us with the tools and training needed to offer the best technology in one of the poorest socioeconomic areas in Kentucky. Through this partnership, we've received high-level training for our educational staff. I personally have gained tremendous benefit from these opportunities, earning 21 Apple certifications, which in turn have helped us to secure high-quality workstations for our students, and these credentials and training have enhanced my abilities as both an educator and as an administrator. But at the heart of this initiative, it's not just about technology, it's about the people. In a region where the talent pool is limited, we have to build our own bench, and the registered apprenticeship has been critical in this endeavor. Successful cohorts of apprentices have helped stabilize our technology department while simultaneously providing students with jobs, opportunities for growth, and a pathway to successful futures. Please allow me to share with you a few stories that exemplify the program's impact. One former apprentice who has just completed his degree is now working as a respiratory therapist. Another is preparing to enter the University of Pikeville's College of Optometry to become a doctor. But the story that I'm most proud of is that of Jasmine. Jasmine began her freshman year at Jenkins during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, a time when students were learning from home. She was one of 7 living in a single-wide trailer, making virtual learning incredibly challenging. She ended that year, her freshman year, as a CD student. However, when she returned to school her sophomore year, my dedicated staff and I recognized the potential within her and set her on a path to success. Through hard work and determination, Jasmine turned her academic career around. She was recommended for the registered apprenticeship, where she truly excelled. Jasmine logged more hours than any other apprentice in the entire program, became a straight A student, and graduated this past year as salutatorian, having earned 2 college associate's degrees along the way. Wow. Today, Jasmine remains with us, working as an aide to our library media specialist while pursuing her college education. Her goal is to become a teacher and have every confidence that one day she will return to Jenkins Independent as our Director of Technology, helping to guide our district into the future. And to me, that's what this is all about. The program is not just about addressing the immediate needs, it's about building a future. It's about providing students with the skills and opportunities that they need to succeed in life. The program is about making sure that our district and others like it open doors to opportunities that empower students to succeed, opportunities that might not exist otherwise, even when faced with challenges, just as we did for Jasmine. That's my passion. Jenkins put me on a pathway to success, and it's my goal to do the same for other students under my care. Thank you again for allowing me to share these stories with you. I hope that with your continued support, we can expand and strengthen this program, not only for Jenkins students, but for other districts across the Commonwealth.
It's an honor to be here today, and I'm a little nervous. These guys they've got a lot of scripts, and I'm just going to speak from the heart. But thank you, guys. I'm a lot like Damien. I've served as technology director. I was a graduate of Breathitt County High School. I went on to Morehead State University, and then I've started my 8th year as superintendent of Breathitt County Schools. But the first thing I've got to do is go off script and thank each and every individual here from the General Assembly to help what you all have done for Breathitt County. We are recovering from the flood of 2021 and the flood of 2022, and I am humbled, blessed. On behalf of my board, the students, the staff, and the community, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You don't realize how much you have helped a little community. So it's just an honor and a blessing to be here. And I've got to share a story. I hope I don't get in trouble. But Representative Fugit came by my district on Tuesday, and we went around and we got to check on some of the progress that we're recovering from the flood. And I just really appreciate him taking time to talk to some of our students in the hallway, talk to some of our staff, ask them what they need, ask them about the budget. We talked about our reading program. We talked about so many things, and I just really appreciate, I know all of you all probably do that, and It's just very humbling. Also, Representative Truitt, I've been in his office before talking about the budget. Thank you so much. In the past, Representative Wesley has been on campus, and he was always big around graduation time, wanting to provide support to the students. So I really honor and respect what you guys do. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know you guys have a tough job, and we have a tough job, and I got to say thank you at least 10 times, because we're so excited from all the progress we're making from the flood, and our goal is to make things better, and we couldn't do it without the General Assembly, each and every one of you all. To go on about Damien's thing, we've got 4 interim, 4 students this year for the program, and we tried it a couple years ago and it failed, so I said I'm going to get involved this year. So we've got 4 people started, and it has been so humbling for me, and I've got to brag on those 4 students. They were instrumental. They worked this summer, and we had all of our one-to-one devices ready for the first day of school, and that was a goal of ours. And to see their faces, this is their first job. I didn't realize it. To watch them go through the interview process, they didn't have checkings accounts. And I know you guys have passed language on personal finance, and this just goes hand in hand. To see them come to work and talk to them about dress and all the policies and procedures, to watch them do a background check and a drug test and all the required trainings that the teachers do. And I've developed relationships with them, so now they come up and they'll say, Mr. Watts, we need to do this or we need to do that. And I just really appreciate them being part of this internship, and just super excited. We've been a partner with Dataseam for over 18 years. I really didn't want to talk. These guys covered everything, but my favorite part that we've ever done is the student internships, and I'm going to make sure that we do our best to make these 4 students successful, and I'm looking forward to trying to find some more here next year. Thank you all.
Thomas Burns, Lawrence County. Dataseam's been a tremendous partner for us since 2005. I think we were the 2nd district to join Dataseam. They're a wonderful partner in the times that we've had, even in the not so good times when we were a turnaround district. They were tremendous, helping us get the technology in the hands of the students and teachers when we needed it.
Could you bring your mic a little bit closer, please?
Yes, sir. Sorry. The other thing they've helped us do is making that local investment. It's allowed us to free up local money so that we can do other things like one-to-one initiative. We couldn't afford that before. Partnering with Dataseam, getting the technology that we've earned through my team, who's here with me today, that kind of offsets some of that other cost, so that it does allow us to do that one-to-one initiative. Last year alone, just between trainings and the apprenticeship, we earned over $100,000 worth of high-end workstations for our district. That's huge for Lawrence County. That's probably 2 to 3 years worth of our KETS budget that we didn't have to worry about. So that was a blessing. As far as a registered apprenticeship, we have had, we're on our 3rd cohort right now. We have 2 individuals. They are wonderful. Our senior this year, he started out wanting to go to like dental school. He's wanting to be a doctor. He got into this program and he's discovered he thinks he's going to change his mind. He's going to go into IT now. What better way for a kid to figure out, hey, I don't want to choose the wrong path. I'd rather try this out now than wasting my parents' money when they go to college. And he feels strongly about this. We hope it works out for him. I hope the best for him. And if he wants to go back to dental school, that's fine. But I'm just glad he's trying it now. Like Mr. Gupton said earlier, apprenticeship, every job in Lawrence County, we're the 2nd largest employer in Lawrence County. Everything those boys are doing day to day, they could go anywhere in our community and do the same thing. And probably make a little more money than what we're paying them right now. But I'm proud of them, and they do good work, and I hope they come away with their certificate, but just the learning experience. Yeah.
To kind of close on what Mr. Burns said, this program is about giving students options. One story I'll relate, we had an apprentice in Hancock County who was all set had his classes registered, and was headed to Campbellsville University. And he was a completer of the registered apprenticeship, and Owensboro Municipal Utility called and said, would you like to come work for us? We're hiring. We'll pay you $66,000 a year to work doing IT for the municipal utility in Owensboro. And that kept him home. And, obviously, what that student did. This work is in demand. It is meaningful employment and family-sustaining employment. I think we're kind of going back to that place where we understand that not everybody has to have a 4-year degree in order to be successful. When we started this, we just wanted to see if we could do it. I mean, with anything that's ever been done in the Dataseam partnership, being big was never a particular goal, but being good definitely was. The program has grown through your all's funding, but equally with that funding, word of mouth. So much of our growth in the last 12, 13 months has been word of mouth. Superintendents talking to one another, technology leaders talking to one another, legislators and community leaders talking at a Rotary Club about what's going on in their community. And it's made a big difference for us. We continue to build upon the foundational successes to expand that ecosystem. Beginning with better trained adult technology workers, Kentucky now has the largest single cohort of credentialed school-based systems engineers to support the Apple platform, along with all of the other credentials they have in the United States. They support the computers that they're earning, providing advanced learning for their students and staff, but also the creation of life-saving cancer therapies. Then, as we've talked today, through the building of next-generation Kentucky IT workforce, we're all working to build a talent pool where there wasn't one before, meet technology demands across a variety of sectors, creating skills mastery while providing value for the district employer. And then lastly, we've been giving our instructional workforce the right tools for the job, which increases productivity and student outcomes, and hopefully increased job satisfaction for educators that will improve teacher retention. With all of these local workforce investments, as the gentlemen have said, millions of dollars of technology being earned by schools equivalent to 2, 3, 4, or more years of technology value otherwise in just a couple of hours or a few days of effort improving themselves. And I'll close with hard work is good work, and each of us have come here today, including our folks that are here with us in the audience. We're glad to do it together, and we surely appreciate your all support and direction getting us all together doing this. We have additional capacity to build, and you've funded this, and for those of you that have constituents in the program, thank you, and for those of you that don't, we'd be glad to have them. So thank you, and we'll close and take any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you, gentlemen. You say you had some staff and students with you. Would they please stand and recognize them, please? Thank you. All right, we do have some questions. Representative Truitt.
All right. Mine's more of a statement as opposed to a question. Being in the classroom daily, I really realize the importance of this program. I've got the luxury of going in and seeing what's going on in the classrooms, that a lot of my colleagues don't get that opportunity daily. So, but in the world we live now, there's more electronic devices, there's more computers than there are pencils. I can go in my classroom now and everybody's got a device, but a lot of these kids are not going to have a pencil with them or a notebook so this is a great program. I want to throw a shout out to Brian. I got familiar with Dataseam back in, I guess it was 05 or 06, back in the day when I was teaching Algebra 1 at Jackson County High School. And I like to think that it's because I was the best Algebra 1 teacher, but it may be because my room was an old computer lab and I had lots of plugins, but I got to be the winner of a math lab. We got IMAX, and that was back before everybody had a device, and that was one of the coolest things in the world for those kids to have access to those computers throughout the day, while Dataseam used those at night to do the research. So I want to thank Dataseam. I want to thank Brian for what they've done for us in Jackson County. I also want to throw a shout out to my technology department back there in the back, Miss Rhonda and Mr. Cameron, and our first apprentice, Owen Gray, back there in the back. I want to throw a shout out to them. I think I've got the best technology department in the state. They do a wonderful job, but thank you, Dataseam, for what you're doing for us.
Next is Rep. Fugit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just really a comment back to Superintendent Watts and all the fellows at the table. Thank you for what you do. One of the things we talked about Tuesday was this apprenticeship program, and Mr. Watts even said that day that these kids had helped him in his position, and just to encourage him. But Breathitt County may not be the biggest school district, but I promise you, there's no better school district as far as just the teachers, the school board, superintendent, and the cleanliness of all their schools, and the outside, the inside, and I'd put them up against anybody. But I thank you for your kindness to me, and you make it easy to fight for you because of how you are good stewards of the money that the state gives you. So thank you for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Carney.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for your presentation, and thank all of you for being here today and taking the time. I had a couple of questions. The first is in terms of the apprenticeship programs and how you determine certifications. Are there certain geographic areas in Kentucky or certain industry sectors or certifications that you see changing or trends in the next 5 to 10 years? And how would you be addressing those changes? And then the second question is funding really just the constraint? Could you just grow this program? Is money the only issue to grow it even more?
Thank you for those. So to the first part of that question, we work with this curriculum to develop a basic mastery of disciplines that, irrespective of where technology goes, you have to have those fundamental concepts in place, and so it allows them the flexibility. So it's not so much a platform or a device; it's just a basic understanding. And that particular DOL designation for information technology support specialist has basic curriculum within that, and that curriculum can take a lot of different forms. And for instance, it just so happens that we're looking at instructional technology in the K-12 space, but there's a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of portability for those concepts into those other basic areas, which we all, banks need IT folks, courthouses need IT folks, hospitals need IT folks, and so meeting that middle level of tech is always important. And I mean, there from a curriculum, and there's an entire continuum from call center support all the way to data scientist. And so we deal with that middle tech space, just like in the healthcare, you've got everything from CNA to cancer researcher, and in the middle space you may have X-ray technicians. And so that's where we deal. That's kind of our lane, and that lane was in response to meeting the needs of the K-12 space and their own succession planning. I mean, these three guys are not the only three guys that are looking at these registered apprentices. When we started this, we all had lots more hair and less wrinkles, and so for many of our districts, they're looking at 4 and 5 years, getting ready to move out of that space, and who's going to fill that position and support that for the teachers and students. And so that's how that's kind of been developed. As far as constraints, hours in the day, and yes, funding. So we'd love to have both.
Thank you. And if you don't mind sharing, I'd be interested to see the DOL curriculum, just so I understand kind of what you are required to and what capacity you have in terms of expanding or contracting that as you need to.
Be glad to get a copy of that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Next we have Representative Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you guys so much for being here. It's exciting to hear the work that's being done there in your schools. I'm really curious if we could hear from one of the students to maybe share a testimony on what this looks like for them, how it's impacted them. I know someone's eager to be put on the spot, but do we have a student who would be willing to share briefly?
Don't be nervous. We are kind.
Brody, come on. You said you've been up here.
Don't be
twice.
nervous.
That means
You're
you
fine,
get to
sir.
speak.
Yeah, that's all right. Ball and toes, as my husband said.
If we can do it, you can.
I do apologize for putting you on the spot, but appreciate you being willing to step up. I imagine your superintendent or someone's probably going to take you to dinner after this, so it'll be worth it.
I'm hoping.
Okay.
State your name for the record, please, sir, also.
My name is Brody Tincher. I go to Jackson Independent. Yeah.
Go ahead and tell us how this has changed your life, please, sir, if you can.
Well, I didn't really know what I was going into when I first signed up for the program. And, I thought it was going to be like a simple little job. I might work a few hours in the day and, maybe cleaning up computers and stuff, simple stuff. But after a while, getting into it, I learned to enjoy it a lot. A lot. And working over the summer was a great experience. I got to see how what my technology coordinator goes through each summer, and it's a lot more than I thought. But
We understand.
yeah, but it was a fun experience. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, sir. You did a great job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you. Not done.
Next we have Representative.
Representative Baker, I'll add, many of our apprentices here are new. They're getting ready into this next cohort, and so they're getting ready to start that. And as part of this may be helpful to you, Representative Kulkarni, is the application process for the registered apprenticeship, which probably ties with some of what you're asking, is very similar to what a student goes through to apply for GSE or GSA or GSP. It's analogous to that, but in the technology space. And then those applications are scored by folks outside of Dataseam who work in the technology space for the propensity to be able to complete the coursework and successfully complete the program. But at the end of the day, for that pool of candidates that we deliver back to a district, the district is the employer as a part of this partnership, and it's really ultimately up to them who they want to employ and hire as a part of the apprenticeship based on the capacity to hire. And like Brody said, this was his first job. This is also their first job interview as well.
Thank you, sir. Next is Representative McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I saw Allen County and Warren County, so my district's there on the map there. Allen County also received, it might be a little different, but a grant, federal grant for a learning working this year. And I've sat in on a board where Allen County's looking to expand how children learn and the different ways and trying to encompass everybody, that just testing and how you test out is not always indicative to how smart you are. There's a lot of things that you can do, and I think the more we can touch this, Warren County just had a workshop of workforce development and how much we need, how much we're going to continue to need. And we know that Kentucky's workforce participation is not what we would like to see it, but the more we can grab and the more we can show and the more we can change their lives and the earlier we can touch their lives is so important. And so I really, really appreciate everything you've done. I've been a component for quite a few years that not everybody needs a college education, but everybody needs some education. And get a certificate, a work certificate. And I'm a real estate appraiser. We need heating and cooling people. We need all kinds of boots on the ground for plumbers. We need everything. So we sure appreciate what y'all are trying to do, what you're obviously been successful doing and expanding, and we want to be a good help to you in the future. And if I could, Mr. Chairman, one more thing, I'd like to take a shout out to brought my mother with me today, Becky McPherson, and she's a retired math teacher, and she had one of the first computer labs in about 1983, 84, when we still booted them up with a card, if you remember. So, again, I just appreciate what you all do. Thank you much.
Thank you. Next, we have Rep. Frazier Gordon.
Thank you for being here today, and I wanted to echo the comments of Representative McPherson, but I also just wanted to tell you how thoughtful it was for you all to take the time to look up each legislator, their district, and to link that to whether we're participating and to what degree. It's very, very helpful as we naturally want to be able to grow this across the state. So I just appreciate your thoughtfulness, and it's very helpful.
We'd be glad to have you.
Me too.
Thank you. And next we have Representative Stalker.
Thank you guys so much for your presentation. I noticed we had some young people in the audience today before we got started and wanted to go over to inquire with them about why they were here and learned a little bit directly from them, which was lovely. My questions for you as far as follow-up is, my understanding is that this is, that they have to clock 600 hours, correct? To get the certification. And so it gives them a lot of flexibility on how they clock that 600 hours. They can do that over the summer, they can do that in the evenings, after school, etc. And that this is paid for them. My question is what is the hourly rate that we are offering these young people per hour? And then once they finish those 600 hours, if they have the ability to be offered something, what is that starting rate that they get offered?
You want me to speak for you? So, well, from the program side, we require that the districts offer the Department of Labor minimum, which is $7.50 an hour. That isn't with each phase and when you talk about 600 hours, it's 200 hours per phase in the 3-phase program. The phases are generally their junior year is phase 1, phase 2 is that summer between junior and senior year, and then phase 3 is their senior year. And you're right, they have a tremendous amount of flexibility, just probably a little bit more than any other after-school job that's available. And they start at $7.50, which is the DOL minimum. When we started this, they get a 50-cent incremental, so $7.50, $8.50 for an average of $8 an hour over the program. Some districts pay more, and being competitive with the local market. But and I'll give Superintendent Watts a shout out. A lot of times kids don't differentiate between $12 an hour at McDonald's and $7.50 an hour. That in 2 years you're going to be able to make a lot more at $7.50. So. Philip started his students at $12 an hour in Breathitt County. So he is showing meaning that there is a value to the work, that you can be paid for information technology. And so there's a tremendous amount of flexibility there. To give you an idea of what folks are making when they finish, one of our apprentices, our first cohort through the Appalachian, funded through the ARC, in Whitley County, when he graduated Whitley County, he went on to University of the Cumberlands. And while he was there, he was getting paid as a federal work study at the University of the Cumberlands, supporting their computer labs while he was involved in pre-med curriculum. Blake recently graduated from the University of Cumberlands, and let me back up. He continued to work in the summertime when the university wasn't open for Whitley County schools, and they were paying him $18.50 an hour for work while he was still in university, and he's moving on to the University of Kentucky to be a radiologist.
May I ask a follow-up question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Chair. So just to be clear, this is really, the discretion of this is coming from the school districts, correct, as to what they are paying these students while they're participating in the program, and then once they get their certificate and they have completed the program, again, this is all coming from school budgets. Is that correct?
That's correct. So as a part of kind of the local workforce investment piece that's always been a hallmark of the Dataseam program, whether districts are investing in training for their staff or their technology teams, and now within this, they are building that into their budget. So it's kind of assumed as a part of the sustainability model at that district level, because when they make it a priority, they're more likely to continue it. And they're earning technology as a part of those local workforce investments, including the payroll, that are 3 and 4 times more than that investment in the payroll for the apprentice.
Okay. Chair, one last question, please. Thank you so much. I don't know if this is for you or perhaps it's for the chair or somebody on this committee. My question is as far as when these individuals get done, well, let me back up. This is new to me, so
Sure.
I wasn't around when this program started. So when we talk about state funding and the fact that you guys are appreciative that we have continued to, can you explain that a little bit more to me and to others who may not have that information, as far as what is it exactly that the state is funding? Is that going directly to the schools? Is that in partnership directly with the company?
Well, and thank you for that. So Dataseam we're a nonprofit organization, and the impetus for Dataseam at its first was to bring additional computing horsepower to the University of Louisville's Brown Cancer Center to develop new cancer therapies. And so when I spoke earlier about what we were proving out the ability to use student computers to do cancer research. And so we found it, as opposed to investing in a supercomputer as well, you were getting 2 birds with 1 stone with that appropriation to provide advanced computers for schools, but also to provide the research infrastructure at the same time, with these computers being linked across the state. So the legislative appropriation predominantly is for technology. And when we started this as a economic development diversification program through KEDFA required that other folks were coming to the table, whether it be the schools or the University of Louisville funds the Dataseam Scholars Program for these students to attend university. We all came to put a little bit in to build this ecosystem, and so the local district investment in technology or in workforce development and training the staff to support the technology is 15 cents on the dollar, 17 cents on the dollar rather, for what they're receiving.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your answers.
Okay.
Seeing no more questions, guys, thank you so much for your testimony today. Thank you for your staff that drove up here to do it, especially the students. Again, amazing program. Again, it's always good to see where how dollars we send, how they get return on money. And I've always said, and people have said, I think the answer to our workforce solution is all the above. I think it is 4-year college, 2-year college, apprenticeships. I think we need to support all those, because that's what we need to do to get people back in the workforce. Again, this is a great tool to let students actually look at what they would like to do. And who knows, they may get into the program at the end of it and say, I don't like it. But then also they may say they love it, as we've heard the story. So thank you guys so much for coming up today.
Thank you. Representative Pratt, to that last point, we currently have across all completed cohorts, little bit higher than an 80% completion rate on this apprenticeship. So, any folks that have not completed, it was generally those wraparound challenges that we all are working to address with students. But it's been a really successful return on investment for those outcomes.
Thank you very much for your testimony, guys, and thank you for everybody who drove up. Next, we have Miss Megan Sandoval. I always screw your name up. Sorry, Megan, from talk about deployment of broadband and how we're doing and where we are.
Hi, I'm Megan Sanfus. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Office of Broadband Development.
Please proceed, ma'am.
Okay, so I appreciate the invitation to give you an update on the Broadband Deployment Fund implementation and our progress on the BEAD program. For an update on round one, we had 47 awards totaling almost $90 million, $203 million total investment touching 36 counties. To date, we have dispersed about $13.7 million for those projects, and all of the projects are estimated to be completed by January of 2026. So that's ahead of the deadline for that funding source. For the ARPA Capital Projects Fund, we awarded additional projects, 57 projects reaching 45,500 locations. We're in the contracting phase on those projects. About 3/4 of the contracts have been returned to us for execution, and the remaining contracts we are negotiating some language changes to the contract or to the project scope. We've also been working with the Kentucky Heritage Council and other permitting agencies to help the grantees through some of the permitting processes. The requirements for the second round of funding were a little different than the first, and so we're helping our grantees through some of those processes. The 2024 to 26 biennial budget included $19.9 million for pole replacement program, including some funding directly to pole owners to assist with workforce capacity issues, and $2 million to the electric cooperative associations for pole replacement activities. And then the remaining funds were for the reimbursement of pole replacement costs. We have about $2 million in pending applications for pole replacement funds, so the activity there is starting to pick up. For the BEAD program, this is the big update. We submitted our action plan, our 5-year action plan last August, which established the goals and priorities and served as a needs assessment for our BEAD program. The next step after that was our initial proposal, which we submitted that in December. The initial proposal was separated into 2 parts. Volume 1, which described the challenge process by which we determined the eligible locations, and Volume 2, which described the subgrantee selection process. Volume 1 was approved in March by NTIA, and that allowed us to begin our challenge process, which broke down eligibility of locations down to the location level. The challenge process started on May 6th, and we at that point opened up for the submission of challenges where the internet providers, local governments, and nonprofit entities could submit challenges to the eligibility data. And locations that had existing federal or state funding were excluded from eligibility. The internet providers were also permitted to challenge locations to remove them from eligibility if they could establish that they were going to provide service there on or before June 30th of 2025. So that captured locations that had been served since the last FCC reporting was collected, in addition to projects that were under construction and in progress that haven't yet been turned on, but are anticipated to be done by next year. And then we also allowed challenges. We also used historical speed test data to modify some of the eligibility or the preliminary eligibility in areas where the historical speed test data showed that the reported speeds didn't match the actual service that was being experienced by the customers. So, and we also accepted speed tests from individual residents, so nonprofits and local governments could submit challenges if a resident took 3 separate speed tests on 3 different days, and then the median of those showed that they weren't meeting the 100 by 20 threshold. We received over 400,000 challenges. So it wasn't the most that any state has gotten, but it was a lot. We really didn't know what to anticipate. It was about what I was anticipating, maybe a little bit higher. We accepted 386,000 of the challenges for consideration. Some of them were rejected based on evidence not showing that not meeting the threshold for acceptable challenges. After we got them all in, they were sent out to the ISPs for rebuttal if it was an availability or speed challenge. And then we were able to adjudicate the disputed challenges and the ones that were not subject to rebuttal, like if it was a planned service or an enforceable commitment challenge, those didn't have to go back out to the providers. So at this point, we are doing quality checks on our challenge data, and we will submit it to the NTIA within the next week. And the challenge data has to be approved by the NTIA before we can proceed with awarding grant funds. Volume 2, which talked about the subgrantee selection process, was approved in June. Kentucky was the 13th state out of the 56 states and territories to receive approval, so we were on the early side there. To date, only 37 states and territories have been approved, so there's still 19 more that are waiting. So that allowed us to move ahead with some of our subgrantee selection activities. So in July, we published the requirements for our pre-qualification process that was described in Volume 2. And on August 14th, we began accepting pre-qualification information from prospective subgrantees. Eligible entities that are able to apply for BEAD funds are the internet providers, nonprofits, and local governments. So we've been working with them on their questions on the pre-qualification process, and we're doing this through an online portal. We're accepting the grants through September or the pre-qualification through September 13th, and then we'll review that information and make sure that the entities that have expressed their interest in applying for BEAD funds are all able to handle the technical and financial and managerial aspects of a federal grant program. So that closes September 13th. We are also working on developing our application for projects in the online portal. We're targeting November for the application to go live. The date that we are able to start accepting applications depends on when we receive approval of our challenge data from the NTIA, but we're doing everything we can to get ready so that once we get that approval, we can move forward. When we receive the approval of the challenge data, we will publish the final eligibility determinations of all the locations in the state that are the ones that are eligible for BEAD funding and the ones that are not. And then that will be the list from which the providers can apply for projects. We do plan to publish the eligibility information in draft form as soon as we submit it to NTIA. I don't expect that it's going to change that much from when we submit it to when they complete their review. That'll allow everybody time to plan for their projects before we open up the application process. After the subgrantee selection process, we have to submit the final proposal to the NTIA, and this will detail how our BEAD funds will be used to deploy broadband to all the eligible unserved and underserved areas. We have to receive federal approval from the NTIA of the final proposal before we can officially award the funds to the subrecipients. in order to help prepare for the some of the more talked about requirements here on BEAD, the permitting and the NEPA evaluation for the environmental review for the BEAD program, we're holding a permitting workshop September 26th with a lot of our state and federal permitting agencies that everybody has to get do consultation with before during the environmental review process. And and then we're also coordinating with the USDA because they're on the cusp of announcing Reconnect and Community Connect awards for broadband projects that would then we would remove those from the BEAD eligibility because they would already have another funding source committed. So.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
We do have some questions.
Okay.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Thank you very much for all this information, but there does seem to be a lot of information. Is there a place where we can go with maybe a report? I mean, for instance, in the beginning you talked about with round one, it touched 36 counties. Is there somewhere we can go to kind of see which counties were touched and
yeah, I can provide that information. We do have our availability map on our website that does show the locations of those grants, but I do have it in a PDF form that I can share.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
If you'll send to Sasha, she will get out to all the members.
Okay.
All right. Senator Mills.
My question was exactly what Representative's question was.
Okay.
I listened intently, but there was a lot of technical information there that we all aren't technicians. So we've got to get this down to a layman's terms, and I would challenge you to try to help us get to that point,
okay,
to where we can explain to the folks that call us why they don't have internet and why so much money has been sent to the state, and when is my internet going to be better? I'm not there. I'm sure most of the people on this committee are not there either, and that would just be a great help to us if you could help us do that. Thank you.
Yes.
Senator Howell.
I think what Senator Mills was saying is his upload speed wasn't as good as it was advertised. With the testing and everything, I mean, some of our initial conversations, we kind of expected some of this to come in. Is this data driven enough to where we could see if maybe some of the first pipe for some of the first lines that were put down, is that where some of our slowness was coming from, where we weren't meeting advertised specs? Is there any way to tell why, and because they're going to have to address some of this stuff. I was just curious if there were any trends that were shown from the testing.
So, a lot of times the technology that the high-speed internet is delivered over impacts the speeds and like the amount of like variability in the speeds you get. Like there's like fiber is the most reliable, and other speeds depend on like how many people other technologies depend on how many other people are using it at the same time and what the demand is, and so that can impact service speeds, and that did show up in some of the testing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Megan, I have some questions.
Yes.
All right. Senate Joint Resolution 175 has to do with pole attachments. How's that going? Or can you comment?
I can't comment on that specifically, but and that is something that gets talked about quite a lot. That is a frustration, I think, nationwide on the just the capacity of the electric utilities and other pole owners to process all of the new volume of permits that are coming in.
So you can't tell if is it helping at all, or can you say? I
haven't seen it yet, but I think I meet with providers on a regular basis, and I'll probably they'll stop telling me what the problems are when it starts to make an impact. But we are monitoring that actively.
Thank you. Now, right now, as you talked about deployment, ARPA funds and the money, you're still working off the 300 million we gave you originally.
Yes.
You have not got any of the BEAD money, the 1.1 billion dollars is coming down the pipeline.
Correct.
Do you know when that's coming?
So we have when we received approval of our volume 2, we also received approval of our funding request, and so while we have the funds are available for us once we complete the subgrantee selection process. So we cannot there's a specific award condition tied to the funding that requires us to go through the subgrantee selection process and then submit our final proposal and get that approved before we can officially award those projects.
Well, for members of the committee, I think you need to be aware that there was quite a backlog of pole attachments that they couldn't get approved. That's out of 300 million. We got 1.1 billion dollars coming down the pipeline. You will have to address this again if this does not get better, because it is literally holding up the process of getting broadband out, and so we will have to address that again, because this is just a tip of the iceberg. It's going to get much, much worse. So again, yes.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for giving us an update. I do hear good things about your office. I was going to ask you, have you been able to get your office fully staffed already?
We're in the middle of hiring right now additional people. We're working with some space constraints over there, so trying to find more space to have people come in.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And again, I do hear good things about your office. So that's good news. And thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Seeing no more questions, seeing nothing else on our agenda, do I hear a motion for dismissal?